We are live. Here we go. 3 dudes in the football.
Hello.
How y'all doing?
I'm good. I have my own modem. I don't rent.
There you go. That pays off in the long run. It pays off in the long run. Don't rent your computer shit. It doesn't work out.
Don't, and it sucks. Their shit sucks.
Yeah,
I would crash the internet provider, but then I would crash. So we'll skip that.
There you go. Well, so let's start off with some big news that happened in Texas. Bill O'Brien is out as a coach and GM, which I'm pretty sure that Mike said that this was going to happen last year when they promoted him to general manager. So after their week 4 loss, they didn't waste any time and announced his departure Monday morning. So now Romeo Cornell, or however you say his name, is the acting head coach, which he's got such a stellar record as being a coach. He is a New England Patriot alumni as far as that goes, but he never did anything after he left there, in my opinion. Great defensive coach, awesome defensive coach.
Was he in that organization and he moved up? Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it was him.
I think he was the first D coordinator they had when they started winning Super Bowls in the early 2000s. That's kind of how he knows his name.
Oh, no. I'm talking about Houston. Is Cornell working for Houston?
Yeah.
And this is an upward motion.
Yes.
He wasn't hired out from the outside. Okay.
No, he was a defensive coordinator. He was
That's
always
what I thought. I just wasn't sure.
And then what was that other guy's name that was also in New England with them that went to go coach for Notre Dame?
Oh, Charlie Weiss.
Charlie Weiss, yeah. It was them three that they were on the Patriots when they first started winning their Super Bowls way back when. So, what does that mean for them? Do you think Deshaun Watson's going to get to play differently now, or
no? This is a lost season. It's a lost season, and it's funny because I think if they kept Bill O'Brien, they would have a better season. I think as a person who has a rooting interest in the Titans, I wanted Bill O'Brien to stay because we kind of had gotten his number. We kind of started figuring them out. We still would lose games to them occasionally, but the more he's the general manager, the better it is for us long term. I mean, the guy was an absolute butcher of that roster, and eventually he was going to have to go. But the problem is now he's wrecked it for the next guy. Like, they are damaged goods. There's nothing to cover the bear. You got Deshaun Watson and a bunch of old, saggy veterans with a bunch of big contracts. It's an absolute mess. And Romeo Cornell is not going to make any difference. If anything, they're going to be way worse. They're tanking.
I agree. I think that any pizzazz is gone now because you had a coach that was desperate. Now you've got one that's going to be he's going to be before he's sick. He's going to be very defensive minded. He's not going to play big play. I just think it's going to be conservative football, I guess is what I'm saying.
You think it's going to be a typical AFC South offense?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, besides Peyton Manning, there's not been a high flying offense in the AFC South.
No.
Not that I can really remember at all.
Not for any length of time.
Offense.
Yeah, not for any length of time. There's been spurts of greatness, I guess. But
the Colts, matter of fact, the Colts right now are the number 1 defense. How about that shit?
Yeah, they're for real up there. I mean, it's unfortunate that they've got Phillip Rivers at the wheel. But
dude, he's not doing that bad. Actually, he's really not.
But they're not good enough.
He's not losing them the games.
That's where I think that he is, because I think that ultimately that's what it's going to come down to. And
they're 3-1.
This is a foresight into the future. Like, if this team gets any further than, if they get into a playoff at all, they're out in the first round. Phillip Rivers it's not going to carry this team, and that's what's going to become expected of him because they don't have good enough players to be some dominant. They have a good defense. Yes.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers he's a former good player who could carry a team. And I think he's tried to carry teams the last 3 or 4 years in San Diego, and that's always been the death of them. And the first couple games, when I watched the Colts this year, I was like, oh man, here we go again. I mean, he was just winging stuff into traffic and getting interceptions again like crazy. And it seems like he started to ease back a little bit because now it seems like the formula is they actually do have a decent young nucleus to that team. I think Darius Leonard's a good linebacker. And they've got some guys that can play on defense. Obviously, they're best ranked defense, but they've got a lot of good young talent they can build around there. Offensively, it's kind of touch and go. But, I mean, you just don't mess the game up. If you can get field goals on drives, if you can keep from punting the ball away, if you can give your defense enough rest and then get a lead, I mean, they could play with a lot of teams, but you definitely don't want Rivers in a shootout anymore. I think those days are way behind him.
Oh yeah, no, he doesn't have the arm that he used to by no means, and he just throws so weird. Just watching him throw, I'm just like,
Bernie
I don't
Kosar,
understand
like,
this.
Sidearm.
It's not even sidearm because that's how Vince Young would throw, and that looked almost normal. But whatever the fuck he's doing is nothing normal about it.
Hey, let's put their defense into perspective, though. You know, the 4 games that they've played have been the Jaguars, the Vikings, the Jets, and the Bears.
We should all be so lucky.
So we'll see how it holds up.
All right, so Jacksonville, they actually have a passing game right now. They really do. You know, Minshew's young. He's having some good games, but you know, Chicago. Look what the Colts did to them, and dude, they just come off a big win, and they shut Foles down, and they had no running. And, you know, no one can run on the Colts. And right now, this year, it seems like if you don't have a running game, you're not going to win the game.
I agree with that.
That is an odd trend. You know, as the offenses have been gearing towards scoring more points and high flying attacks and, you know, 5 receiver sets and those types of things. It is kind of refreshing in a way to see that, you know, where it's going back to the running game. Because ultimately, the formula will never change that if you can get a lead on somebody and then be able to run the ball and kill the clock, you're going to win a lot of games. It's just there's nothing you can do about that, you know, unless you play Patrick Mahomes and it's over.
Speaking of Patrick Mahomes, he's catching some shit right now for hugging old Stephen Gilmore from the New England Patriots on that game the other night, which was a really phenomenal game, I thought, given the circumstances that Hoyer, oh my gosh, it's just
that guy having a job in this league for as long as he has. It's proof that there's a higher power somewhere because, I mean, somebody with a sense of humor kind of put that in play. I mean, the dude's he's been trash for 5 seasons. You think of all the starting quarterbacks out there that are trash for 1 year, 2 years, and they're done for their career. He's been trash for 5 seasons, and he got to start for the Patriots.
Why did they even have him on their roster? Like,
exactly.
What is the point?
The reason they have him on their roster is because Fitzpatrick is a starter in Miami. That's the only reason Hoyer has a job is because Fitzpatrick would have taken his job anywhere else. Jeez. Fitzpatrick is the ultimate backup. But now, you know, who did they end up putting in?
Jared
I don't even know who the hell that guy is.
Stidham. They're Stidham. Their pick, I think, this year. I think he's a rookie. If I'm correct.
Georgia quarterback, I believe. Or no, he was Auburn, wasn't he?
I think so.
I have no idea.
But listen, that play though, I believe that Bill Belichick had every right to be upset about that bullshit.
Which one?
The interception. That was the biggest one that I'm thinking of. Where
the one that pissed me off the most was when they were within the 10-yard line, and dude runs back to the 30-yard line and gets tackled. What are you doing, dude?
Which time?
Right, but I mean, it was the first time they got in the red zone. And now right there,
there was
the first. There was 2 in the first half. Yes,
he killed the first half with no timeouts. He took a sack, which, I mean, a second-year quarterback should know well enough that you throw the ball out of bounds and you kick the field goal or live for the next play. But he runs backwards, takes a sack, and I mean, you could see Belichick and Josh McDaniels actually having a stroke on the sideline after that happened. Like, steam was pouring out everywhere. But then they opened up the second half, and damn if he didn't do it again. And it fumbled the ball. That's what it was. He turned the ball over, and that was the end for him. I mean, there's no way they can not put Stidham in. But Stidham's got a good-looking arm. Even though they didn't win the game, he's got a live arm on him.
I was talking about the official calls, man. Bill Belichick.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Davis went off with that, too. The official calls, man, when Kansas City, clearly it was a small interception from Patrick Mahomes. It's like this bullshit forward little thing. And dude caught it clearly as day. And they protected him with some bullshit rule. Like, what was it? He had motioned him to the ground improperly, I think is what it was, or something like this.
Dude, they got some terrible calls.
Payback for the Tuck rule.
Yes.
But I mean, it was just so obvious, though. I mean, and then I will say the Patriots were not destined to win that night.
No, the
They
refs
were not
seemed to be against them, man.
They were at. I know. Everybody used to say the same thing that the referees are all for the Patriots, and no matter what, that's how they get their wins. Last night was the complete opposite of that.
No,
Not
it
last
was
night,
not.
but
Monday night. No.
Monday night. Oh my gosh! Wow.
Belichick was like about to have a heart attack, man, over some of these calls they were making. And I don't blame him with some of that, especially the one we were just talking about, man, because it was clear as day. And like, obviously, whatever concern was not objective. It was very subjective to these refs when it was dealing with Patrick Mahomes, because it had been the other way with a Brian Hoyer. That play would have been a touchdown, an interception for a touchdown. That's simple as that.
Yeah, because they blew it dead.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it was, and it was a fumble. That's what it was.
No, it was caught in the air.
Yeah,
the guy, Mahomes threw it like
he
2
didn't
yards.
throw it though. He didn't throw it.
Well, it was this motion. It was a forward motion.
No, dude, he did not throw that ball. That ball was out of his hands before his arm started going forward, and dude just happened to be right there and got it before he hit the ground.
That's fine enough. Either way, it was there.
I know, and then he took off for the end zone. They blew it dead, which was bullshit because it was a legit fumble.
Yeah.
He had that ball.
Stupid.
It was absolutely ridiculous. But
I think overall, the officiating's been better this year because they've been letting it play. They don't get ticky tack. I mean, you'll see this sharp decline in holding calls this year and stuff that really slowed the game down. True. But on the other half, there's like 3 or 4 really terrible officiating crews that just let shit go. And I think it's because a lot of the primetime officials retired rather than deal with coronavirus. I think a lot of them opted out this year. I don't have facts on that, but I have a feeling that is a contributor because I've seen some of the same stuff in other games too.
There's new faces. There's new head referees. I've noticed that.
A lot.
That's a good point. I haven't looked at any stats on that either, but I'm sure there's because they were older. Some of these guys were getting older.
Old Ed Hockley, he had to be older.
Yeah, I don't blame him for that.
No, I don't blame him.
And they're all rich anyhow. They do that shit for fun.
Yeah, no, most of them are lawyers and shit.
Lawyers. Yeah.
But so. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes getting shit for hugging all up on Stephen Gilmore after the game, and then dude tested positive, just days later.
Make it sound dirty.
Yeah,
hugging all up on him.
That's right.
Listen, if our president can beat this shit in a couple of days, then I'm not scared.
Anyways, and then Tennessee, they have 20 people that have tested positive now. 10 of the players, 10 of the personnel, and now they're talking about doing fines and, for not following protocol. Players organized a workout the day after all the facilities were closed at a local school. And now, there's mention of Ryan Tannehill being there, throwing passes. And for some reason, and, I probably shouldn't say this, especially since, it's a podcast and anybody can hear it, but I'm going to say it anyways. But supposedly Tannehill was one of the people that tested positive.
Tested positive? I didn't know that. Wow.
I'm talking shit. There's no source for that whatsoever. I just thought I heard something about that on the radio.
They've put a lot of players on the reserve COVID-19 list, which that could be for a myriad of reasons. It could be that they have coronavirus, they've been exposed directly to somebody. It doesn't mean anything. And they've been mostly tight-lipped about who have had this, on any of the teams. But right. I have seen a lot of really high octane players on that list. I think out of what did you say is 10, 11 players?
There's 10 players that I know of right now. 10. And then 10 personnel.
Yeah, Corey Davis got added today. I know Jeffrey Simmons is on there. I mean, some guys that, you definitely don't want to see off the team for a couple of weeks. It's going to change the perspective. I mean, just really the framework of the entire team if they ever get to play again. But,
so just ignore what I said about Tannehill then, because maybe they were just.
Go ahead. Are they blaming the Titans protocols on this stuff?
Yes.
They're saying
yes. They're basically trying to again. This is just people calling in with what I was listening to today, but they were acting as if Vrabel's not enforcing any of these mask mandates or, telling people, hey, man, just do what you want. Don't worry about it. That kind of attitude. Now, whether or not that's actually true, but there's talk about taking draft picks away from them, finding them money and all this other kind of shit. And like I said, they were still organizing workouts, even though the facilities had been shut down. Now, I do know, and this was said, now I do know this was said on the radio show I was listening to today, but Ryan Tannehill was there throwing passes to some of the other players for the Titans at that local school. So,
You heard it here first.
yeah, no, not really. Yeah, I guess whatever. But there's also talk about now. Y'all said y'all didn't hear this nationally. Maybe some other shit that I'm coming up with. But there was even mention of being a forfeit, which hasn't happened since 1921.
Okay, now if Vrabel has got the bro mentality about this COVID in the locker room, he is not the only coach in the NFL that is doing that. He cannot be the only one. So
Chucky out there in Vegas, his ass is doing it because he's not even wearing a mask. He's still not wearing a mask after getting 100.
So why are Titans the only ones popping up with dozens of tests positive?
Well, that I can't answer.
I think somebody's been stupid around there. I mean, it could be. There's a lot we don't know. I mean, what gets reported? You're thinking there's about a week time lapse between this stuff gets out. They're talking about these workouts run like the 30th, and today's the 7th. So I mean, it's so hard to get all those details because nobody who's involved wants the details to get out. I mean, there's kind of this high level of, hey man, if you're going to be here, don't tell anybody, don't bring cell phones, and eventually someone's going to get caught. But all this to say, I mean, they've had enough tests that the NFL is going to feel compelled to act against them. I've been reading articles today that said it's not a matter of if they're going to get penalized, but when and how much. Definitely, there's going to be fines. I could put my own money, which is not nearly as much as the fine is going to be on that. And there's definitely going to be some kind of draft picks. Although at this point, I think they would just do like a day 3 draft pick or something to get some attention. It's definitely not the end of the world as we know it. Whatever protocols they didn't follow. I mean, one team is bound to get some tests, but something's going to happen. The forfeiture, I think, you got to have something really hard evidence, like egregious, like they caught Vrabel telling guys not to wear masks or stopping guys from wearing masks, like something crazy. I don't think that's out there.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I don't think it's out there either. And now, the thing is, it's not just Tennessee now, though. Like the Patriots, don't you think they really put people in danger with the flight of the day of the game, mind you? They flew out there the day of the game, played, slept, and then went back that very next day, all on this, plane that had 20-something players on there, and now they're just now starting to test positive for the COVID, knowing that a lot of them players were around Cam Newton when he was infected.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just saying, I think, it's really not as sewn up as it's been made out to be. I think the NFL's been fortunate to not have positive tests. Now they're kind of on the defensive. But, definitely not as safe as it appeared.
Listen, we've all said our part on here about the COVID and all the coronas, whatever you want to call it. But what current athlete right now has died from it?
I can't think of any.
Of all the sports, of all of them.
No, nobody.
So what does it mean right now then, exactly when they get diagnosed with it? What does that exactly mean? I'm not sure. I don't does that mean they get a cough and a cold and a flu-like symptoms? Is this the concern? Or, right now,
honestly, my niece had it. She's fine.
I knew 2 people that had it that got really messed up, and I'm not trying to put any light on that. They went to the ICU, respirator, whole deal around here in the neighborhood. They're the friends of my family, or my kid knows their kid kind of thing. Right. But athletes, as far as athletes go, the people that are in these, that are in tremendous condition, have no underlying conditions at all. I haven't heard anything.
Now, when this all first broke, probably back in like February or March, I want to say March, I was listening to a podcast and they had a swimmer on there who had gotten infected with it. And he said he pretty much nearly died. It was the worst thing that he's ever went through. He's still having problems breathing. He's supposedly, now whether this is true or not, he's going to have lifelong problems with his lungs because of this. And he was like a 23-year-old dude, like perfect condition, like super athletic, man. He's a swimmer, for fuck's sake. Those guys are,
There's an exception. There's going to be exceptions, obviously,
right.
But I mean, as far as major sports, professional,
Right.
we've heard of all these people, Rudy Gobert, all these people in the NBA come down with it, all these people in the MLB, now all these people in the NFL, and I don't know about the NHL. I'm sure it had a few problems, maybe, who knows? But you haven't heard anything past that. They get it. They're quarantined. They're back.
Yep.
And I'm not, like you said, there's people that have really got fucked up, and that sucks really badly.
And we don't know the long term. We don't know the long term effects. No. Now, me personally, I think their whole reason they're trying to be careful is just to minimize the spread of it. I don't see any other reason. I don't see any other advantage of doing what they're doing except to try to minimize the spread of this virus. Which, whatever.
Well, how political is it? How political is it? And I hate
to bring the NFL. It ain't nothing but political.
I mean, but across all boards, not just the NFL. It's ridiculous. No. Like that's another thing that I'm starting to feel with it. Is like from these fines and shit, man. It's not logical. I'm sorry. I'm irritated by that tonight, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, it's a huge PR thing, and a lot of what the NFL does. I think back to like the whole Ray Rice scandal and how they handled stuff like that.
Sure.
They want to sit there and put their foot in their own mouth about they care about this or this is important. Truly, the only thing important is the money, and they have to put this out there so that people will continue to buy into their product because they're selling something to such a wide array of people, old and young, all nationalities, all demographics. They're trying to get people to watch the NFL and stay locked in and play fantasy football, buy the jerseys, et cetera, et cetera. The only way they can appeal to this huge mass audience is to continue to do the type of things like that, like the salute to service stuff. Man, I can tell you right now, and I love service members. I married, a former Navy sailor, and I love the military, but the NFL doesn't give a shit about the military. It's all about the perception and putting that stuff out there. It's the same thing with coronavirus. So them trying to take this hard line on mask mandates and all this other stuff is just PR. It's just, bananas to the monkeys, like to get them to jump through the hoops kind of thing. So it is what it is. But
it is entertaining. It is entertaining.
It's entertaining in a certain respect. But I think they're getting exposed. And something else you said, Miles, about them not really having any fatalities from the COVID virus. Let's not forget that all these guys, they're getting tested daily. So it's not like they're finding out after they've had symptoms, like you and I would for several days. And we're like, on death's door by the time we go to the hospital, or it's way past the point of when an athlete would have been, they would have caught it. They also have treatment around the clock. They got training rooms and people and networks of doctors available like at all times. So I think it's one reason why, and let's not forget the money involved in that. One reason why they haven't had any deaths, which is good, I guess. But, kind of the balance of things is kind of thrown off if you look at it.
All right, so we were talking about Bill O'Brien earlier. What about that fucker down in Atlanta? Is he still there?
Yeah, what's that story?
He's got naked pictures of somebody.
He must. He must.
Atrocious. Wow. Gag worthy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So they're 0-4. They're 0-4. Houston's 0-4.
The Jets are 0-4.
Shocker.
Wow. Is that it? Is that the only? Is that? I think that's the only winless teams, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, is Julio Jones out this week again? Because he didn't practice today, and they say it's not looking good for him for game day. Now, that's a local for you.
It'll be game time. They won't announce anything like that ahead of time because it gives the other team advantage. So they'll wait till 90 minutes before kickoff.
Right.
What has gone wrong there? I mean, obviously it's Dan Quinn, right? I mean,
it is 100% Dan Quinn. It's Dan Quinn and him delegating a lot of like coordinator coaches that aren't really good head coaches. What happens is they get hired and they delegate 100% of the responsibility of the offense to one guy and 100% of the defense to another guy, or they may call the plays, which is almost as bad, but they don't really get involved as much. They try to sit back and manage, the clock management stuff and really not get involved. But man, you're really leveraging a lot of your team because he had Kyle Shanahan running the offense when they went to the Super Bowl, and they were amazing because Kyle Shanahan was a great coach. And then you bring in guys like Dirk Cutter and the rest of the staff that they've had in there since then. And these guys left to their own devices, they're team killers, and that's why they've jumped around to so many different teams. They've had success places where they've been managed, but Dan Quinn is not a manager, and it's long been time for him to go. He's like the Wade Phillips of the 2020 season because Phillips was head coach of like 3 or 4 teams, and left skid marks everywhere he went. But he was a great defensive coordinator. It's like
Yep.
there's a lot of these guys out there.
Jeez, it's pitiful. I don't see how it goes for this long. I mean, nobody wants to, play musical chairs with their coach, but my word, has he not been in the hot seat at least for the past few years now? 3 years?
At least 3 years.
Last year, didn't think he was going to make it, and then they let him start this year, and now he's 0-4, and Bill O'Brien got fired before him. I couldn't believe that.
Is Gase still up in New York?
Yeah,
as far as everyone knows. Okay.
They're winless too, aren't they?
Yes.
The Giants. Yes.
The Jets. Are the Giants as well?
Yeah, the Giants are winless as well.
Jeez.
Are they not?
I don't know.
The way Mike's giving that look leads me to believe I am wrong.
I know you might be. I'm going to check the standings right now.
No, they
the
are
Giants
0-4.
might have picked one out.
Yes, that's what I thought. There was a huge fight after the game with Golden Tate and Ramsey from the
Rams.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, apparently old Ramsey's got a couple of kids by Golden Tate's sister. And yeah, dude, this is like some Springer shit, like straight up fighting going on after the, dishonoring his sister and him standing up for his sister's whatever.
Wow.
That makes sense. I forgot because Ramsey's from Nashville.
I don't know. My camera quit working for some reason.
Oh.
I've been trying to get it to turn back on. Yeah, thank you. For some reason, it's it's got the light on for the computer camera, which I never use that because it never works. So we'll try to. I mean, you can still hear me, can't you?
Oh yeah, you're fine.
Nobody in the podcast actually listens to the podcast, watches us. So, like I said, the only reason I broadcast this is just so I can get the audio off of it, which I had a hell of a time doing that last week. I had to find a different website to do it.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you played it very professional because I started to think you didn't even realize that it had happened.
Oh, no, I've been messing with it ever since. Thanks. Appreciate that confidence there, buddy.
Yeah.
But so what about Dwayne Haskins? What do y'all think about that down in Washington? Oh, am I back on?
Yep. No. Has there ever been a thought on Dwayne Haskins? I mean, didn't he do something in college?
I'm unfamiliar with him.
Maybe he was
another Ohio State quarterback.
Yeah, I don't. Dwayne Haskins, man. Poor Ron Rivera, man. Like I wish him all the best there at the Washington Football Club. I guess I don't know what they play there, but in America we play something else. We don't name our teams football clubs in America. I don't understand.
I know it's like a soccer club.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
Haskins wasn't a pro quarterback. That was a terrible draft pick from day one.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Actually, it's funny because a lot of the national media is giving them shit for benching Haskins like in his second year. Like they can't believe it. I'm thinking, if you make a mistake, it's better to admit the mistake and move on than sit here and just scrub toilets trying to pretend that you're washing dishes, man. I mean, it's not the same thing at all. And you got a couple guys who can play behind them that actually can be pocket passers, but Haskins is one of these guys that wants to get by on natural talent and not really learn how to play quarterback. I don't even know if he's capable because he can't read a defense and he holds the ball forever, gets killed. It was games. You got to bench that guy. So I'm cool with it. I'd rather see what they got in the other. Was it Kyle Allen? I want to see
Kyle Allen. Mm-hmm. And dude, they got Alex Smith backing up Kyle Allen. So I'm guessing old Haskins is third stringer now. Are they going to hold on to him or is he going somewhere?
They might have deactivated him for this week.
I don't understand that. I mean, I understand getting benched. Trubisky got benched. He's playing backup. How the hell is Haskins gotten demoted all the way down to third string?
Have you watched him play?
Yeah, well, okay. Well, D'Angelo Hall was quite pissed off about today too. I saw an interview with him, and he was talking about they should have done this in training camp, let them actually compete for the job. Hello, D'Angelo. They didn't have a training camp. Did anybody have a training camp?
In the technical sense.
I mean, I'm sorry, Zoom training camp just doesn't seem like it has the same feel to it.
No.
I just don't think you get the same results as, seeing somebody throw at a fucking tree or throw a tire
wanted him to win the job. They wanted him to win the job. They really wanted him to, presume himself the starter this year because they drafted him so high. But it's not the same thing. You can't want a guy to be good. He has to be good.
Yes.
All right. So what number did they draft him?
It was high. It's like mid-first round.
I think so too. Wasn't he with Darnold and Daniel Jones and the other one that went to Miami for a little bit, and all these sophomore quarterbacks that are now playing? But Josh Allen, is it his second year or is it his third year?
Josh Allen.
This is his second.
Third year.
Is it third year?
Third year. Okay, so that's a different group of quarterbacks that I'm thinking of. Then. Never mind me.
I'll look up and see where he got drafted because Wikipedia is actually really good for this. If you're ever curious about like draft orders, they have one of the better organized pages. And I don't really say that about Wikipedia on a lot of things. But if you put in like 2018 NFL draft, it's the spreadsheet pops out. It's like color coordinated. It's actually easy to see.
Nice.
So he was he was 15, so mid first round, and he was before. Who else did they draft in the quarterback in the first round? I guess he was the last quarterback taken in the first round. But yeah, he came out with Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, and who else did they have last year? I guess that was your 3 first-round quarterbacks.
Daniel Jones sucks.
What?
I said Daniel Jones hasn't done anything worth watching.
I don't even know who the hell that is. Kyler Murray is having a good year so far.
So far.
He's slowing down a little bit. Last couple of games, he's been down Charlie. He had, I read somewhere today, so I'm going to get these facts completely screwed up because math, but he had like the lowest yards per completion, or the lowest number of yards for a quarterback with more than 24 completions in a game, 24 in a game of all time. Like number one, he's had 2 of the top 3 in his career in just a year and a half. So obviously he's just not throwing past the line of scrimmage. He's throwing all these short passes, which to me is amazing. He's got Hopkins and Fitzgerald. He's got a couple of decent receivers there.
Yeah, that's bizarre. I wonder if what's behind that. I mean, because we've seen him throw. The guy can throw the ball, right? I mean, yeah. I watched him play once or twice, I think, in college, and I mean he runs a lot. He's quick and he's like a little video game player when he runs the ball, but I think he can throw as well. So that's really bizarre.
It is. I mean, they like to get a lot of receivers and spread them out and do like all these crossing routes and stuff. So I can see how we kind of keep it close, but it's just really strange because usually, I mean, to run those types of offenses, you have guys that can catch and run, get like the yards after catch, and it seems like they just don't have that this year, which is strange because I guess Hopkins is more of a downfield receiver. It's just weird they're using him like that.
Yeah,
he is, and so is Fitzgerald too. Really, he's not a screen. He's not a screen guy.
He's become more of that in the last few years. They've actually started putting him in the slot the last probably 4 years since Bruce Arians coach.
Definitely been more of a slot receiver, but he's not into the screens and shit like that though.
Not as much.
I mean, dude, he's not on the field nearly as much anymore either.
That's true.
It's his 17th year or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
he's been a long time.
He has. He's the Vince Carter of the NFL.
What about Frank Gore, Mr. Forever?
Oh, I know, right? I've never seen a running back last that long.
It's crazy.
I bet he wishes he didn't. He's with the Jets this year. He looks so sad on TV the other night.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
No.
I don't blame him. Now, have either one of y'all watched the Jets play?
Yes.
I have not. How bad is it?
Bad. They don't look good, man.
It's not like even close or anything. It's not like, one more play, would have changed the whole game, but they're just shit.
They just look terrible.
Their problem starts on the offensive line. And when you don't have an offensive line, I mean, it doesn't really matter about the rest of the problems.
Right. That sucks.
Yeah, it's bad. And
I'm still trying to figure out my damn camera here. It's just annoying me at this point.
Telling you, man, you never look better.
Thanks.
You look better than me if it makes you feel better.
Does anybody think the 49ers are still contenders at all?
I don't.
I'm starting to really question that. I don't.
I really don't.
I mean, that's a shame because they really were doing very well, and I thought they would continue to do well. But I guess it's really injuries, I guess, more than anything, huh? Just
Yeah,
like
I mean,
both teams.
Garoppolo is still out. They've got a lot of defense out. They don't have any of their starting secondary, if I'm not mistaken,
It's crazy.
which I usually am, but whatever.
They're in a division that I don't see them making the playoffs this year because I think the Cardinals are up and comers despite whatever. I mean, they got a lot of youth,
Yeah.
and the Rams are off to a surprising good start, and the Seahawks are going to win that division in a
Yes.
boat race. So I mean, that's 3 teams. You could have 3 teams in the NFC come out of that division, and I know it's 7 teams per conference this year, but I still don't see the 49ers being able to overtake some other teams. I think you're going to have a surprise wild card or 2 that would step in front of them.
They're not coming from the NFC North. That's for damn sure.
Hmm.
No, not North. Sorry. What is shit?
East.
Thank you. We're talking about Dallas division, Washington, Philadelphia.
Oh yeah.
Dude, the minute that
Giants.
Eagles game ended the other night, like 50,000 people tweeted out how the Eagles lead the division at 1, 2, and 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pitiful, man.
Yep.
Ugh.
The winner of that division is probably gonna be 6-9 and 1, or 6-8 and 1, or 5-8 and 1.
It's too early to tell if it's possible. And you know what that means? Every time you have a season like that, it means some team that wins 10 games is going to miss out.
Yep. It's crazy.
Well, all right.
Are we good?
Do you think does anybody? I got something. Does anybody have any thought? The Browns. Are they for real, man? Come on, man.
They're looking good.
They are looking good. They got a running game. We were talking about that earlier.
But they didn't collapse the other day when I honestly thought in that Dallas game that they were going to collapse at the second half at some point, and Dallas is going to be able because I feel like
apparently did. Their defense obviously did.
Well, Dallas' defense did the whole game.
Apparently the Browns' defense collapsed, giving up 500 passing yards.
That's where I'm at with them. Are they going to be able to play when it gets for real? Because all the offensive pizzazz in the world won't do anything, will it?
Not if you can't stop somebody. And I tell you right now, if they were going up against Green Bay as opposed to Dallas the other day, they would have lost that fucking game.
Yes, that's a good example. A Green Bay would definitely, I feel like, have their way with a Cleveland Browns.
Yes, and I'm
an offensive shootout for sure.
Green Bay is going to come in under the radar, even though they're totally whooping ass. But
yeah, how do they do that? How do they? I mean, last season, like nobody talked about them. They were like 12-4.
Yeah, and it's looking like it's going to be the same thing this year, and they're riddled with injuries. I think everybody is because they didn't have any kind of preseason. They didn't get the conditioning that they're used to.
Yeah.
So there's no way their bodies were ready for what they've been going through, which it is what that is.
But I will say on Cleveland that I think they've improved since the first game. I think if you look from week 1 to week 4, they're probably the most improved team because I think they really identified the way that they can use the pieces on their offense. Where last year they were just scratching their heads. They had all these good players, but they just didn't know how to. It's like a Ferrari in the driveway, and you don't know how to put the keys in the ignition. And this year they've started to understand. Okay, we got to win with the running game. We need to be a little bit more threatening with some pieces, but more, use OBJ as a decoy and then have Kareem Hunt, run around the edge or have OBJ run. He ran like a 50-yard touchdown this last week. And
he had a really good game.
Team to watch. Yeah, he did. I mean, and I think maybe he's been capable of doing that the whole time, but for whatever reason, they just haven't been able to put it together. Now, if they can really go on a run, that's one of those teams I always kind of want to root for to get off the schneid. I want them to actually not suck one year. It'd be cool to see that, but they started out like this before and didn't finish. So knock on wood.
Yeah,
but I think the difference here though is Odell is actually healthy. He hasn't been healthy since he's really been there.
Well,
yeah, maybe I don't know. It's one of the injuries they don't really tell you about. I mean, they hide a lot of stuff like that.
They don't have that hard of a schedule moving. I mean, they play the Titans, which looks like and the Ravens and the Steelers. Those 3 teams will be the hardest coming forward.
What do you think about the Steelers? What's y'all's opinion on them?
They're for real.
Yeah, they played good last week.
Yeah. I think they are. The Ravens, though, they came back this week as well.
Ravens.
What
the hell just happened?
Oh, the Saints game, man. They were not looking very good, and then they came back to beat the Lions. They were down behind by like 21 points at one point.
Breeze
Something
put it down the field a couple of times. Not a
Yeah,
lot, but a couple times.
yeah, good for them.
Yeah, it's great.
I played a little crow on that one. I was thinking he's not going to pass the ball more than 20 yards, and he did a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's been the talk this year is that he doesn't have the arm to get it past 20 yards.
Mm.
I believe we were talking about this last week. When actually none of their plays are really designed that way. That's why it was kind of funny when you were talking about Kyler Murray earlier doing a bunch of screen passes and short yard passes. It's the yards after the catch is where they get their yardage from, and with Thompson being out, is it Thompson or Thomas? Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas.
Is he? I know. Is he coming back? He was at practice this week. Do y'all know if he's playing?
Don't know.
I think he's probably going to try to play. I think that might keep him on like a pitch count or something, but he'll be in the game. It's just it makes it harder for the other team to game plan if he's there.
Because their bye week, I believe their bye week is until the 8 weeks, so they got 3 more weeks before their bye. Which Green Bay's on a bye this week, and so all my fantasy players are just hurt. Chubbs went out. Fucking McCaffrey's still out. Adams from Green Bay. Freaking who else was it? I just tried. I didn't play Kelsey this past week because I was worried about whether or not he's going to play because of the coronavirus.
Yeah, I've been Tyreek Hill the same reason. I ended up winning somehow. Yeah,
well, not this league. Tyreek Hill is on my nephew's team on this league. So,
well,
I'm playing you this week, Mike. I'm gonna get my ass kicked again. So,
we'll see, man. Everybody's due at some point.
And Miles, you're leading in points, even though you're in third spot. Dude. You got the most points.
I did a terrible job this past week, man. I don't know why I didn't put Kittle in. I just I guess I just forgot. Just outright.
Right.
I wouldn't put him in. I would have made the same mistake. I really didn't think him coming back like that. I mean, it was really quick for him to come back. I didn't think he was going to do a lot. And he benefited from the fact that they had like some really terrible quarterback play and some guys who really couldn't push it down the field. And I think they switched quarterbacks halfway through the game. So you had Nick Mullins and whoever was behind him. Mm-hmm. And they both were just going right after Kittle like every play, desperation.
Yep.
Yeah,
gone, man. You could see it. It's sad. He's not going to make it.
He had a couple good quarters. People were like, "Oh man, he could probably replace Garoppolo, even if Garoppolo is healthy." Mm-hmm. I mean, before the ink was dry on that tweet, that was over.
Yes.
So, what about Buffalo, Miles? You said you want to talk about them.
I think that Buffalo is going to the AFC Championship
against Kansas City.
Yes.
So,
good game.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who else?
If
that's going to happen, and if it's a January game and Buffalo gets home field advantage somehow in that game, Buffalo is going to kick ass because that stadium's impossible to play in the playoffs.
I agree.
I don't know if they can get home field advantage over Kansas City.
How?
Look at the
division. Look at their freaking with the Patriot. Who are they up there with? All these losers. They're doing well.
Buffalo? Buffalo?
Yeah.
All right. So they got Cincinnati. No, they got New England, Miami, them, and who's the third team? Or the fourth team?
Jets.
See?
Okay. All right.
I think Miles got that one.
Yeah. No, you're right. I'll give it up. But I mean, Kansas City. They got Denver.
Yeah, nobody. Chargers, which is me. Yeah. And then
Raiders will show up sometime. Yeah.
Raiders
it's going to come down. It's going to come down to a couple of games, man. You'll have some teams with high records and stuff, and 1 or 2 games will make all the difference. But it could definitely go Buffalo's way. Could.
I'm excited for Buffalo. It's like I want them to win. They deserve a damn championship if they go that far.
I agree.
Sure.
I agree. Why not them?
Why not us? It's our year, 2020. We just need to make it.
Right.
They need to do it while Doug Flutie is alive.
Oh, Man, they did
Come on.
Flutie so wrong. I bet Flutie doesn't give a shit about the Bills.
Probably not. Ugh.
I wouldn't.
Hell no. Flutie took him all the way to the playoffs, and he played the last game of the season. Then they benched him going to the playoffs for, I don't even remember that guy's name. Is it JP Lossman?
I have no idea.
All right. No, it was Rod Johnson. And he lost the Music City Miracle game. And that was like the curse game. They didn't have another playoff game for 18 years or something crazy. Good times.
Who was the quarterback went through the Super Bowls that they all lost? That they went to
Jim
each
Kelly.
year? Jim
Yeah, Jim
Kelly.
Kelly.
That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Not Doug
Jim
Flutie. Jim
Doug
Kelly.
Flutie.
And those teams go down memory lane. Dude, the first couple Bills teams went to the Super Bowl. I am so shocked they didn't win. They should have won one of those four. It should have been the first one. They should have beat the Giants. That was one of the best teams I've ever seen.
That's who I meant though, Kelly, not Flutie. Yeah, he needs to see them win. For he needs some kind of something.
Sure, I agree.
Why not? He never did win one, did he?
No.
Yeah.
Brad Johnson has a Super Bowl ring. Okay.
Well, Trent Dilfer has one, dude. Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring and got traded the very next year to Seattle as a backup. Goes from a starting quarterback winning in the Super Bowl and then traded to back up in Seattle.
Dude,
Wow.
Colin
Yeah,
Kaepernick.
he never did anything else.
No,
for the
Trent
rest of his
Dilfer.
career.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, nobody would take Kaepernick. He only played for one team. But all right, well, I guess that's it, guys.
All right.
Anything else y'all want to talk about?
Tomorrow's night's game is what?
Jacksonville and Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay and who?
Oh, I have to look this up. It's not Jacksonville, sorry.
I eat crow on Tom Brady again this week, obviously. I will say that much.
He's looking better. We'll see if it
Every
holds
week.
up. I mean, I know we're sitting here like waiting for him to fall apart, but I still think it's possible. Tampa Bay, Chicago. Yeah, it's the Super Bowl 2017 rematch, him and Nick Foles, but both for different teams.
Nick Foles.
We'll see if he can pull it together.
All right.
I'm taking Tampa Bay in that one.
Yes.
I'll go Chicago. I'll
All
take the underdog.
You're a madman.
We'll see y'all next week.
All right, later,
All
guys.
right, brother. Later.